Earlier this year I planted my sweet potatoes and did a video about that, talking about how I had started the slips from last year's sweet potato crop, and now the sweet potatoes are ready to harvest. Now I will say before I start digging these that I did make one mistake. I'm actually harvesting these a little bit late. Sweet potatoes are not like regular potatoes. Regular potatoes will grow until they reach maturity and then the plant dies back and you're ready to harvest the roots or the tuber, which is the potatoes. For sweet potatoes, the plant will just keep growing until frost kills it back. And because the plant will keep growing, the sweet potatoes, or the roots of the sweet potato plant, will keep growing as well. The typical maturity for sweet potatoes is about 110 days. And we reached that point here in about early September. So we're a month plus past that maturity period, which means that some of the sweet potatoes I'll get will probably be pretty large, a little bigger than the nice grocery store sized sweet potatoes. Now that's not really a problem as far as eating them because they are still just as edible as they would be otherwise, but as they get bigger they can be a little bit more difficult to clean and cut up and work with. So other than that, the plants look really good. We've gotten a couple cold nights, but not enough frost to kill them back. And that's really the deciding point at which it's too late to harvest your sweet potatoes. If the plant gets frozen back to the ground, then it will ruin the sweet potatoes. So you want to get them before the frost kills the plant. We have a possible frost coming up this week, so it's time to get them out of the ground. Beautiful, nicely shaped, nice sized sweet. That's a football right there. So this is what I was talking about and a little bit afraid of. By letting the potatoes go too long in the ground, you end up with these really big potatoes. And as they get big, now I have a few that are really big and nice and smooth, nicely shaped, but this one has a lot of nooks and crannies on it that it's still perfectly edible, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to clean and prepare for cooking. So not a huge deal, but just one downside of leaving your potatoes in the ground for too long. So this is our sweet potato harvest this year. Not bad, I don't think, for one bed. We got some really big potatoes here, like I mentioned we might, but most of the ones, even the really big ones, are pretty smooth. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem for preparing and cooking these. One thing as I was going through that surprised me is the soil in this bed is really hard, so much so that I broke my pitchfork, which tells me a couple things. Number one, I need to be adding more organic matter to this bed to amend it for next year. And number two, I need to buy myself a better pitchfork. So we'll be working on that for next year and try to soften up the soil. Don't know if that affected the harvest. I'm pretty happy with what we got here, and now it's just time to cure them. To cure the sweet potatoes, you need to keep them in a dark place at about 85 degrees with about 90 to 95% humidity. Now, I don't have necessarily the perfect setup. This is a rack that I have outside that I've used as a little greenhouse outside, used it for hardening off in the spring. But right now I have it wrapped in plastic, actually 2 layers of plastic. I have clear plastic or a light plastic that lets light through. And then over that I put black plastic. So a couple layers of plastic, and I've got my racks here where I'm going to put the sweet potatoes. And then at the bottom I have these pans of water, and underneath these pans I have seed warming trays. So these are plugged in to warm up, to warm the water and hopefully maintain a warm temperature inside of this rack and keep the humidity fairly high. So it may not be perfect parameters, but I believe once we enclose this all, it should do a pretty good job. This is what I've used in the past for curing the sweet potatoes, and it's worked out pretty well. That's closed up, and now to let them rest for about a week or so. Once the curing is done, I'll take those potatoes, wrap each one individually in newspaper, put them in a box and store them away in a cool place in the basement. And they will last us for several months. Then, come spring, I'll take some of the potatoes we have left, start some new slips, and start the process all over again. If you've enjoyed this video, I appreciate if you give it a like and go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. Until the next video, you might enjoy this video that Google has selected especially for you. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.